Number the stars. Chapter 3. Where is Mrs. Hirsch? The days of September passed, one after the other, much the same. Anne-Marie and Ellen walked to school together and home again, always now taking the longer way, avoiding the tall soldier and his partner Christy dwelled just behind them or scampered ahead, never out of their sight. The two mothers still had their coffee together in the afternoons. They began to night mittens as the days grew slightly shorter and the leaves shorter and the first leaves began to fall from the trees. Because another winter was coming, everyone remembered the last one. There was no fuel now for the homes and apartments in Copenhagen, and the winter nights were terribly cold. Like the other families in their buildings, the Johansons had opened the old chimney and installed a little stove to use for heat when they could find coal to burn. Mama used it too, sometimes for cooking because electricity was rationed, and it was rationed now. At night they used candles for light. Sometimes Ellen's father, a teacher, complained in frustration because he couldn't see in the dim light to correct his students' papers. Soon we will have to add another blanket to your bed, Mama said one morning as she and Anne-Marie tied the bedroom. Christy and I are lucky to have each other for warmth in the winter, Anne-Marie said. Poor Ellen to have no sisters. She would have to snuggle in with her Mama and Papa when it gets cold, Mama said, smiling. I remember when Christy slept between you and Papa. She was supposed to stay in her crib, but in the middle of the night she would climb out and get in with you, Anne-Marie said, smoothing the pillows in the bed. Then she hesitated and glanced at her mother, fearful that she had said the wrong thing, the thing that would bring the pained look to her mother's face. The day when little Christy slept in Mama and Papa's room were the days when Lise and Anne-Marie shared the bed. But Mama was laughing quietly. I remember too, she said. Sometimes she wet the bed in the middle of the night. I do not, Christy said, heightly from the bedroom doorway. I never ever did that. Mama still laughed, knelt, and kissed Christy on the cheek. Time to leave for school, girls, she said. She began to button Christy's jacket. Oh dear, she said suddenly. Look, the button has broken right in half. Emery, take Christy with you after school to the little shop where Mrs. Hirsch sells threads and buttons. See if you could buy just one to match the others on her jacket. I'll get you some more. It shouldn't cost very much. But after school, when the girls stopped at the shop, which had been there as long as Anne-Marie could remember, they found it closed. There was a new padlock on the door and a sign, but the sign was in German. They couldn't read the words. I wonder if Mrs. Hirsch is sick, Anne-Marie said as they walked away. I saw her Saturday, Ellen said. She was with her husband and their son. They all looked just fine. Or at least the parents looked just fine. The son always looked like a horror, she giggled. Anne-Marie made a face. The Hirsch family lived in the neighborhood, so they had seen the boy Samuel often. He was a tall teenager with thick glasses, stooped shoulders, and unruly hair. He rode a bicycle to school, leaning forward and wrinkling his nose to nudge his glasses into place. His wooden wheels now that rubber tires weren't available, and it creaked and it cracked and clattered on the street. I think the Hirsches all went on vacation to the seashore, Christy announced. And I suppose they took a big basket of pink frosted cupcakes with them, Amory said sarcastically to her sister. Yes, I suppose they did, Christy replied. Amory and Ellen exchanged looks that meant Christy is so dumb. No one in Copenhagen had taken a vacation at the seashore since the war began. There were no pink frosted cupcakes. There hadn't been for months. Still, Emery thought, looking back at the shop before they turned to the corner where was Mrs. Hirsch. The Hirsch family had gone somewhere. Why else would they close the shop? Mama was troubled when she heard the news. Are you sure? She asked several times. We could find another button someplace, Amory reassured her. Or we could take one from the button of the jacket and move it up. It wouldn't show very much. But it didn't seem to be the jacket that worried Mama. Are you sure the sign was in German? She asked. Maybe you didn't look carefully. Mama, it had a swastika on it. Her mother turned away to a distracted look. Amory, watch your sister for a few moments and began to peel the potatoes for dinner. I'll be right back. Where are you going? Amory asked as her mother started for the door. I went to talk to Mrs. Rosen. Puzzled, Amory watched her mother leave the apartment. She went to the kitchen and opened the door to the cupboard where the potatoes were kept. Every night now, it seemed they had potatoes for dinner and very little else. Emery was almost asleep when there was a light knock on the bedroom door. Candlelight appeared as the door opened and her mother stepped in. Are you asleep, Amory? No. Why? Is something wrong? Nothing's wrong, but I'd like you to get up and come out to the living room. Peter's here. Papa and I went to talk to you. Emery jumped out of bed and Christy grunted in her sleep. She hadn't seen him in a long time. There was something frightening about his being here at night. Copenhagen had a curfew and no citizens were allowed out after 8 o'clock. It was dangerous, she knew, for Peter to visit at this time, but she was delighted that he was here. Through his visits were always hurried. They almost seemed secret, somehow in a way she couldn't quite put her fingers on. Still, it was a treat to see Peter. It brought back memories of happier times, and her parents loved Peter too. They said he was like a son, barefoot. She ran to the living room and into Peter's arms. He grinned, kissed her cheeks, and ruffled her long hair. You've grown taller since I saw you last, he told her. You're all legs. Emery laughed. I won the girls' foot race last Friday at school, she told him proudly. Where have you been? We've missed you. My work takes me all over, Peter explained. Look, I brought you something. One for Christy, too. He reached into his pocket and handed her 2 seashells. Emery put the smaller ones on the table to save it for her sister. She held the others in her hands, turning it in the light, looking at the ridged, pearly surface. It was so like Peter to bring just the right gift. For you, Mama and Papa, I brought something more practical. 2 bottles of beer. Mama and Papa smiled and raised their glasses. Papa took a sip and wiped the form from his upper lip. Then his face became more serious. Anne-Marie, he said, Peter tells us that the Germans had issued orders closing many stores run by Jews. Jews, Anne-Marie repeated. Is Mrs. Hirsch Jewish? Is that why the button shop is closed? Why have they done that? Peter leaned forward. It is their way of tormenting for some reason. They want to torment Jewish people. It has happened in other countries. They have taken their time here. Have let us relax in a little. But now it seems to be starting. But why the button shop? What harm is the button shop? Mrs. Hirsch is such a nice lady. Even Samuel, he's a dope, but he would never harm anyone. How could he? He can't even see with his thick glasses. Then Anne-Marie thought of something else. If they can't sell buttons, how will they earn a living? Friends would take care of them, Mama said gently. That's what friends do. Anne-Marie nodded. Mama was right, of course. Friends and neighbors would go to the home of the Hirsch family. Would take them fish and potatoes and bread and herbs for making tea. Maybe Peter would even take them a beer. They would be comfortable until the shop was allowed to open again. Then suddenly she sat upright with her eyes wide. Mama, she said. Papa, the Rosens are Jewish too. Her parents nodded, their faces seriously and drawn. I talked to Sophie Rosen this afternoon after you told me about the button shop, Mama said. She knows what is happening, but she doesn't think that it will affect them. Anne-Marie thought and understood. She relaxed. Mr. Rosen doesn't have a shop. He's a teacher. They can't close the whole school. She looked at Peter with the question in her eyes. Can they? I think the Rosens would be all right, he said, but you kept an eye on your friend Ellen and stay away from the soldiers. Your mother told me about what is happening in Osterbrocade. Anne-Marie struggled. She had almost forgotten the incident. It was nothing. They would only bored and looking for something to talk to. She turned to her father. Papa, do you remember what you heard the boys say to the soldiers? That's all of Denmark. That's all of Denmark. What that would be King's bodyguard. Her father smiled. I have never forgotten it, he said. Well, Anne-Marie said slowly, now I think that all of Denmark must be bodyguard for Jews as well. So it shall be, Papa replied. Peter stood. I must go, he said, and you long legs. It is way past your bedtime now. He hugged Anne-Marie again. Later, once more in her bed beside the warm cocoon of her sister. Anne-Marie remembered how her father had said 3 years before that he would die to protect the kings, that her mother would too, and Anne-Marie, 7 years old, had announced proudly that she would also. Now she was 10 with long legs and no more silly dreams of pink frosted cupcakes, and now she and all the Danes were to be bodyguards for Ellen and Ellen's parents and all of Denmark Jews. Would she die to protect them? Truly, Anne-Marie was honest enough to admit that there in the darkness to himself that she wasn't sure. For a moment she felt frightened, but she pulled the blanket up higher around her neck and relaxed. It was all imaginary. Anyway, not real. It was only in the fairy tale that people were called upon to be so brave to die for for one another. Not in real life, Denmark. Oh, those were the soldiers. That was true. And the Croges, residence leaders who sometimes lost their lives. That was true too. But ordinary people like the Rosens and the Johansons, Emery admitted to herself, struggling there in the quiet dark, that she was glad to be an ordinary person who would never be called upon for courage. We'll be right back after a short little break. Chapter 4. It will be a long night. Alone in the apartment while Mama was out shopping with Christy, Anne-Marie and Ellen were sprawled on the living room floor playing with paper dolls. They had cut the dolls from Mama's magazines, old ones she had saved from past years. The paper ladies had old-fashioned hairstyles and clothes, and the girls had given them names from Mama's very favorite books. Mama had told Anne-Marie and Ellen the entire story of Gone with the Wind, and the girls thought it much more interesting and romantic than the King and Queen tales that Christy loved. Come, Maylene, Anne-Marie said, walking her doll across the edge of the rug. Let's dress for the ball. All right, Scarlet. I'm coming, Ellen replied in a sophisticated voice. She was a talented performer. She often played the leading roles in school dramatics. Games of the imagination were always fun when Ellen played. The door opened and Christy stomped in, her face tear-stained and growing. Mama followed her with an inspirited look and set a package down on the table. I won't, Christy sputtered. I won't ever wear them. Not if you chain me in a prison and beat me with sticks. Anne-Marie giggled and looked questioningly at her mother. Mrs. Johansson sighed. I bought Christy some new shoes, she explained. She outgrown her old ones. Goodness, Christy, Ellen said. I wish my mother would give me some new shoes. I love new things, and it's so hard to find them in the stores. Not if you go to a fish store, Christy bowed. But most mothers wouldn't make their daughters wear ugly fish shoes. Christine, Mama said suddenly. You know it wasn't a fish store, and we're lucky to find stores at all. Christy sniffed. Show them, she commanded. Show Anne-Marie and Ellen how ugly they are. Mama opened the package and took out a pair of little girl's shoes. She held them up, and Christy looked away in disgust. You know there's no leather anymore, Mama explained, but they found a way to make shoes out of fish skin. I don't think those are too ugly. Anne-Marie and Ellen looked at the fish skin shoes. Anne-Marie took one in her hand and examined it. It was old looking. The fish scales were visible, but it was a shoe, and her sister needed shoes. It's not so bad, Christy, she said, lying a little. Ellen turned the other ones over in her hand. You know, she said, it's only the color that's ugly. Green. Christy wailed. I will never ever wear green shoes. In our apartment, Ellen told her, my father has a jar of black ink. Would you like these shoes better if they were black? Christy frowned. Maybe I would, she said finally. Well then, Ellen told her. Tonight, if your mama doesn't mind, I'll take the shoes home and ask my father to make them. Black for you. With his ink, Mama laughed. I think there would be a fine improvement. What do you think, Christy? Christy pondered. Could he make them shiny? She said. I want them shiny, Ellen nodded. I think he could. I think they'll be quite pretty. Black and shiny, Christy nodded. All right then, she said. But you mustn't tell anyone that they're fish. I don't want anyone to know. She took her new shoes, holding them disdainfully, and put them on a chair. Then she looked with interest at the paper dolls. Can I play too? Christy asked. Can I have on dolls? She squatted beside Anne-Marie and Ellen on the floor. Sometimes Anne-Marie tonight was such a pest, always buttering in. But the apartment was small. There were no other place for Christy to play, and if they told her to go away, Mama would scold. Here, Anne-Marie said, and handed her sister in a cutout little girl doll. We're playing Gone with the Wind. Maylene and Scarlett are going to a ball. You can be Boney. Scarlett's daughter. Christy danced her doll up and down happily. I'm going to the ball, she announced in a high, pretended voice. Ellen giggled. A little girl wouldn't go to the ball. Let's make them go someplace else. Let's make them go to the Tivoli. Tivoli, Anne-Marie began to laugh. That's in Copenhagen. Gone with the Wind is in America. Tovol, 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 little Christy sang, twirling her doll in a circle. It doesn't matter because it's only a game anyway, Ellen pointed out. Tovol can be over there by the chair. Come, Scarlett, she said, using her doll voice. We shall go to Tovol to dance and watch the fireworks, and maybe there will be some handsome men there. Bring your silly daughter, Boney, and she can ride on the carousel. Anne-Marie grinned and walked her Scarlett toward the chair that Ellen had designed as Tovol. She loved Tovel's gardens in the heart of Copenhagen. Her parents had taken her there often when she was a little girl. She remembered the music and the brightly colored lights, the carousel and ice cream, and especially the magnificent fireworks in the evenings, the huge colored splashes and bursts of light in the evening skies. I remember the fireworks best of all, she committed to Ellen. Me too, Christy said. I remember the fireworks. Silly, Anne-Marie scoffed. You never saw the fireworks, Tivoli Gardens was closed now. The German occupation forces had burned part of it, perhaps as a way of pushing the fun-loving Danes from the light-hearted pleasures. Christy drew himself up. Her small shoulders stiff. I did too. She was belligerently. It was my birthday. I woke up in the night and I could hear the booms, and there were lights in the sky. Mama said it was fireworks for my birthday. Then Anne-Marie remembered Christy's birthday was late in August, and that night, only a month before, she too had been awakened and frightened by the sound of explosions. Christy was right. The sky in the southeast had been ablaze, and Mama had comforted her by calling it a birthday celebration. Imagine such fireworks for a little girl 5 years old, Mama had said, sitting in their bed, holding the dark curtain aside to look through the window at the light and sky. The next evening newspaper had the next evening's newspaper had told that the sad truth. The Danes had destroyed their own naval fleet, blowing up the vessels one by one as the Germans approached to take over the ships for their own use. How sad the kings must be, Anne-Marie had heard Mama say to Papa. When they read the news, how proud, Papa had replied. It had made Anne-Marie feel sad and proud, too, to picture the tall, aching a king, perhaps with tears in his blue eyes, as he looked at the remains of his small navy, which now lay submerged and broken in the harbor. I don't want to play anymore, Ellen, she said suddenly, and put her paper doll on the table. I have to go home anyway, Ellen said. I have to help Mama with the house cleaning. Thursday is our New Year. Did you know that? Why is it yours? Asked Christy. Isn't it our New Year's too? No, it's the Jewish New Year. That's just for us. But if you want, Christy, you can come that night and watch Mama light the candle. Anne-Marie and Christy had often been invited to watch Mrs. Rosen's light from the stab bath candles on Friday evenings. She covered her hands with a cloth and said a special prayer in Hebrew as she did so. Anne-Marie always stood very quietly away to watch. Even Christy, usually such a chatterbox, was always still at that time. They didn't understand the words or the meanings, but they could feel what a special time it was for the Rosens. Yes, Christy agreed happily. I'll come and watch your Mama light the candles, and I'll wear my new black shoes. But this time was to be different. Leaving for school on Thursday with her sister, Anne-Marie saw the Rosens walking to the synagogue early in the morning, dressed in their best clothes. She waved to Ellen, who waved happily back. Lucky Ellen, Anne-Marie said to Christy. She doesn't have to go to school today, but she probably had to sit very, very still like we do in church, Christy pointed out. That's no fun. This afternoon, Mrs. Rosen knocked at their door, but didn't come inside. Instead, she spoke for a long time in a hurried, tense voice to Anne-Marie's mother in the hall. When Mama returned, her face was worried, but her voice was cheerful. Girls, she said, we have a nice surprise tonight. Ellen will be coming to stay overnight and to be our guest for a few days. It isn't often we have a visitor. Christy clapped her hands in delight. But Mama, Anne-Marie said in dismay, it's their New Year's. They were going to have a celebration. It's their New Year's. They were going to have a celebration at home. Ellen told me that. Her mother managed to get a chicken someplace, and she was going to roast it. The first roast chicken in a year or more. Their plans had changed, Mama said briskly. Mr. and Mrs. Rosen had called away to visit some relatives, so Ellen will stay with us. Now let's get busy and put clean sheets on your bed, Christy. You may sleep with Mama and Papa tonight, and we'll let the big girls giggle together by themselves, Christy pointed. And it was clear that she was about to argue. Mama would tell you a special story tonight, her mother said. One just for you. About a king. Christy asked obviously. About a king, if you wish, Mama replied. All right then, but there must be a queen too, Christy said. Through Mrs. Rosen sent her chicken to the Johansons, and Mama had a lovely dinner large enough for the second helpings all around. It was not an evening of laughter and talk. Ellen was silent at dinner. She looked frightened. Mama and Papa tried to speak of cheerful things, but it was clear that they were worried, and it made Anne-Marie worried too. Only Christy was unaware of the quiet tension in the room. Swinging her feet in their newly blackened and shiny shoes, she chattered and giggled during dinner. "Early bedtime tonight, little one," Mama announced as after the dishes were washed. "We need extra time for the long story. I promised about the king and queen." She disappeared with Christy into the bedroom. "What's happening?" Anne-Marie asked when she and Ellen were alone with Papa in the living room. "Something's wrong. What is it?" Papa's face was troubled. "I wish that I could protect your children from this knowledge," he said quietly. "Ellen, you already know. Now we must tell Anne-Marie." He turned to her and stroked out hair with his gentle hands. "This morning at the synagogue, the rabbi had told his congregation that the Nazis have taken the synagogue list of all the Jews where they lived was the name what their names are. Of course, the Rosens were on their list along with many others. Why? Why did they want those names? They planned to arrest all the Danish Jews. They planned to take them away, and we have been told that they may come tonight. I don't understand. Take them where?" Her father stood his head. "We don't know where, and we don't really know why. They called it relocation. We don't even know what that means. We only know that it's wrong and it's dangerous, and we must help." Emery was stunned. She looked at Ellen and saw that her best friend was crying silently. "Where are Ellen's parents? We must help them too. We couldn't take all three of them. If the gentlemen came to search our apartment, it would be clear that the Rosens were here. One person who we can hide, not three." So Peter had helped Ellen's parents to go elsewhere. "We don't know where. Ellen doesn't know either, but they are safe." Ellen sobbed aloud and put his face in his hands. Papa put his arms around her. "They are safe, Ellen. I promise you that. You will see that again quite soon. Can you try hard to believe my promise?" Ellen hesitated, nodded, and wiped her eyes with her hand. "But Papa," Anne-Marie said, looking around the small apartment with a few pieces of furniture, the fat stuffed sofa, the table and chairs, the small bookcase against the wall. "You said that we would hide her. How can we do that?" "Where can she hide?" Papa smiled. "That part is easy. It will be as your mama said. You two will sleep together in your bed, and you may giggle and talk to tell secrets to each other. And if anyone comes," Ellen interrupted him. "Who might come? Will it be soldiers? Like the ones on the corners?" Anne-Marie remembered how terrified Ellen had looked the day when the soldier had questioned them on the corner. I really don't think anyone will. But it really hurts to be prepared if anyone should come, even soldiers. You two will be sisters. You are together so much, it will be easy for you to pretend that you are sisters." He rose and walked to the window. He pulled the lace curtain aside and looked down into the street. Outside, it was beginning to grow dark. Soon they would have to draw the black curtains that all Danes had on their windows. The entire city had to be completely darkened at night. In a nearby tree, a bird was singing. Otherwise, it was quiet. It was the last night of September. Go now and get into your night groans. It will be a long night. Amory and Ellen got their feet. Papa suddenly crossed the room and put his arms around them both. He kissed the top of each hand. Amory's blonde one, which reached to his shoulder, and Ellen's dark hair, the thick curls braided as all braided as always into pigtails. Don't be frightened, he said to them softly. Once I have three daughters. Tonight I am proud to have 3 daughters again. The end. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed chapters 3 and 4 of Number of the Stars. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.